ahead and get started. All right, so today's session is titled the ASVAB post-test interpretation. So basically what that means is you all that are on the call today had taken the ASVAB at some point, whether it was just last April or maybe in November or even last year. Basically what we're going to do is just kind of go over the ASVAB scores in detail, just so that way you can have a little bit of a better understanding of how to read your ASVAB scores. There's a lot of numbers that are on the score report, so it can be a little confusing for students. So we want to make sure that we can kind of hopefully cut down the confusion a little bit. So, all right, so let me go ahead and share my screen here, and I'm going to pull up an example score report here. So essentially when we're looking at this score report, as you can see, there are a ton of different numbers listed on the report here. Let me get I just want to make some drawings here. So the very first thing is there's 3 scores to the ASVAB. The first one is your percentile scores. The next would be your standard score. And the other is the AFQT. Now, with those 3 scores, the one that we look at for your graduation requirement is the AFQT. So just real quick, just to kind of go over that, the AFQT is the military entrance score or the Armed Forces Qualification Test. And that is the score for that. So basically what we are looking for is a 31. And that's not what we as Bishop Noll are looking for. That's what the state of Indiana is looking for with your scores. So you have to achieve a 31 or higher. Now, if you did not receive a 31, that does not mean that you did not pass the ASVAB. The ASVAB is not a pass-fail. So I want to just kind of throw that out there because a lot of people have asked me, oh, well, I don't think I passed the ASVAB. Well, everyone passes the ASVAB. It's an aptitude test. It's not a pass-fail. However, because the state uses the ASVAB for a graduation requirement, they do have to set a score and they do have to have a certain level for that score. So they chose 31, which is based off of the Army. The Army score to get into the Army is a 31. So a student has to achieve a 31 to be able to get into that branch of the military. So they based it off of the Army. So now let's go into the different score areas. So that would be these right here. So the ASVAB results. So the ASVAB is broken down into multiple sections. So of course you have your career exploration scores first, which are your verbal skills, your math skills, your science and technical skills. So those are like the big categories, right? Then we go down a little bit and we look at the general science, arithmetic, reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, mathematics knowledge, electronics information, auto and shop information, mechanical comprehension, and assembling objects. So these scores or these areas are what, as a whole, you are graded on or you're assessed on, I guess you could say. So when you're looking at these scores, you're going to see the first thing that you're going to see is your percentile scores. Now, your percentile scores are solely based off of your grade level. So you can see right here, right in the first little section there, it says 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So this is your percentile compared to everyone else in your grade across the nation. So when you look at this, let's say you look at the verbal skills first. So in the verbal skills, we can see that, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. It's not letting me. Okay. So the very first one is 10th grade females. So how do you compare against 10th grade females? And you can see this person had a they scored in the 95th percentile. So they're higher, they scored higher than 95% of everyone in the 10th grade females. The next one is the 10th grade males. So they scored 97% higher than 10th grade males. And then they look at a collective 10th grade students all across the board. Whether you are male, female, it doesn't matter. They are looking at everything there. Okay. So now we're going to look at the math skills. Same thing. You can see 17, 22 for 10th grade males and 19th percentile for 10th grade students all across the board. Now this student here, you can see, is a 10th grade male. So the big thing is you want to look to see where you're at compared to, you know, your gender based off of this score. So that's, you know, the biggest strong area that you want to look at. So then you can go straight down, going straight down the path there, you know, just going through each score. I'm not going to go through that each one, but you can see the percentiles, how they compare, how this student compares against everyone else in their grade level, whether it's male, female, or all together. Now, the standard scores. So that's this middle section here. This middle section, really this whole entire box here. So basically the standard score, it has what's called score bands. So what you're looking at with the standard score is this is how you scored based off of the questions that you personally were asked. So your score is represented and identified by the X in the bar up top of the graph here. So when you're looking at this, you'll see the little gray box or little gray band that's surrounding the X. So essentially what that means is that if you were to take this test again, you would more than likely score a different score, and that range would be somewhere within that score band or in that gray band. So if you take the exam again, now there's multiple different factors that could go into, you know, a score. Maybe you just weren't feeling that great that, you know, that day and you're a little tired. So some of these questions, you know, you just didn't do as well as you could have. They try to take that into consideration when they're looking at the scores here. So, so the score bands definitely help out find some of your strengths, right? So if you have a higher score with the score band, with the standard score, your score band may be bigger or it may be smaller because it's a more accurate representation of where you're actually at. And it depends on how you're answering those types of questions as well too. So, so basically when you look at the X here, this X lines up with exactly this score here over on that side. So you can see this one here is real close to the 40. It was a 42. That's why 50, 53, 60 right smack dab in the middle of the 60 and the 70. That gave you a 75. So that's what you're looking at. Then with these score bands, like I said, so you'll see some are very, very wide, and then some are a little smaller with the score bands, like these two right here. So these score bands would be a little bit more accurate of where you're actually at. Even if you took the test again, you probably still would be right around that area. The wider ones means that when you looked at your when you took the exam, maybe some questions you're answering correct, some you might have been close but not right there. And so that's why there's a bigger score band, because maybe some of the easier ones you were having trouble with, but some of the harder questions you were getting correctly. So it does definitely vary. So does that all make sense? Does anybody have any questions so far on that? No? Okay. All right. So the next part that we want to go over is, what do you do with these scores and how can you use this for like a college search or a career search? The great thing about ASVAB is they have an online program where you can actually go to and you can actually learn a lot more about the ASVAB and what it means. And from these scores, how can this help you moving forward? How can this help identify maybe a future career as well too? So not only is it used as as a graduation requiring exam for the state of Indiana, it's also used for military scores. If you're looking to go into the military, into a certain branch of the military, they use this. So some individuals on the call may have used this to get themselves into the military. And those recruiters would be contacting them based off of their scores. Or if you're already in contact with a recruiter, they'd be using this to see how you did and kind of moving forward. As far as taking the ASVAB again for juniors, if you are looking to take it again, we are allowed to offer it twice a year. So we've already offered it twice this year, so we cannot offer another ASVAB until the fall. So our plan is to offer it a little earlier than last year. Last year, I think we offered it around November 16th, I believe it was. So the goal is to kind of offer it a little earlier next year. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. And then we'll do it again in the spring like we did this year. So what we're looking at now is you have access to an online portal with an access code, and this is for the OccuFind and the FYIs. So basically, what the OccuFind is this is a great program for you to learn a little bit more about the actual ASVAB and the scores and understand the results and how it translates into a career. So you're going to go to this website here, asvabprogram.com, and then you're going to use this access code to sign up. So let me clear all these drawings and let me go to, oops. So this is the website. This is what the website looks like. You would go up here to create an account, and on the created account, it would ask your access code. You enter in your email and you create your own password. After you do that, you're going to log in. It's going to take just a second. And then what it's going to do is it's going to show you and say, okay, see my score. So across the board, my verbal, my math, and my science and technical skills, I scored a 50 all the way across. My AFQT was a 50. So what does that mean? What does that mean to me as a student now? So you can search careers with the OccuFind. You can take the FYI, which is a for your interests, and you can basically just goes through a set of questions where it just says, oh, do I dislike, am I indifferent? So you go through and you just answer a bunch of questions, and then it comes up with different results based off of your interests. So let's say, let me see, search careers. So basically what this is going to do, after you take the FYI, it'll actually give you different interest codes. So it'll say, oh, you are more, let me see, if I believe I took this, but let me see. No, I did not. Okay. So it's going to, there we go. Okay. Sorry. Just want to get there. So here are the scores again. So based off of my quote unquote, the ASVAB that I took, here are the scores again. This is just a different view of seeing the same thing that we just showed. So you got your standard scores, your percentile scores, and then your ASVAB test scores with your AFQT down at the bottom. So if I want to start looking at different careers. So I know that my verbal was pretty good, and I want to look at the, base off something off of the ASVAB strengths. I'm an investigative type person. I'm also a social type person. So I want to see your careers and jobs that would be related to that. And then ones that have a little bit of a bright outlook. So if I hit explore, it's going to show me different types of careers that are based off of the selection. And then you can actually go through and you can say, okay, you know what? I want more science and technical. I want more enterprising and realistic, but also based off of math, because I love math. And then you can go through here and you can say, okay, bartenders, billing cost, cashiers, chefs, cost estimate, energy auditors, environmental restoration planners. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let me check that out. So then I go in there and I click that and I find out a little bit more about that actual career. So this gives you the opportunity to say, okay, what type of career, or, how do I get there? So what type of education do I need to get to that? I can see that there's a 33% of the individuals in this field have bachelor's degrees. You can see the majority of them have a master's degree. So I know that I have a little bit of education ahead of myself, at least past the 4 years of the college that I would normally have. And then you go through and you can kind of see it does give the average salaries and it does break it down by state. The one thing that I do want to mention, and this is good for anything, whether you're looking at a site like this, or if you're looking at a site that's online through maybe like the labor statistics, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, when you look at average salaries, you need to there's a lot of different things that you need to take into consideration. Like this one has entry-level salaries. So this is based off of entry-level jobs in this individual state. Now, why is something like Indiana 36,000 and Illinois 42,000? Well, and then you look at California and they're 51,000. It's all because of cost of living. The cost of living is higher in certain states than it is in other states. So when you're looking at these entry-level salaries or even the average salaries, you can see the average salaries, after you get out of the entry level. This is actually really good here, good information here, because you can see that when I first start out, I'm probably only going to make roughly around, 36,000 or 42,000, somewhere in around there. But I know that eventually I can get up to an average salary. Now, when you look at average salaries, if you're on a website and it only lists average salaries, it's going to take into consideration the top 5% of people in that career, as well as the bottom 5%. So those entry-level individuals. So it's going to be a mix of everyone from entry level to people that are getting ready to retire in that field. So those average salaries are very skewed. So when you go out there and go on these websites and say, oh, the average salary is $100,000, you more than likely are not going to make $100,000 that very first year or that second year, possibly even that third year. It might be 10, 15, 20 years down the line that maybe you get that 100,000 or whatever that average salary is. Keep that into consideration. Also, where you live will determine the amount of money that you're going to make as well too. Now, don't automatically think that, oh, I live in Indiana and it's only $62,000. Well, I need to move to California so I can make $91,000. Again, cost of living is very different in Indiana than it is in California. At the end of the day, there is a very good opportunity that you could live in Indiana, make $62,000 a year, and have more money in your pocket than you did in California, making $91,000 because of the cost of living. So you have to take all those things into consideration. I hear a lot of times students want to like, chase that money. I want to go to Florida because I know I'm going to make, a lot of money, or I want to go to California because I can make a lot more money there. I can go to New York City and make a ton of money. Yep, you can. You're right. Absolutely. However, good luck finding an apartment under, $1,500 a month in New York City or LA. You might be able to find like a 1-bedroom studio apartment or something for that price. So you have to take a lot of different things into consideration when you're looking at these different average salaries and entry-level salaries and things like that. So just for example, taxes in Indiana are 7%. Taxes in Illinois are 10%. So 10% of your salary is getting taxed. It will be taxes. 10% of this salary will be taxes. So you can do a very quick, 7,800 or whatever, and 6,200, or right then and there, boom, you already know that's how much is coming out of your check. So definitely keep that into consideration when you're looking at, different careers. And then again, you can kind of keep going through here. Let's go with like a sales representative, wholesales, manufacturer, what kind of degree? Okay. High school diploma, 22%, bachelor's degree, 77%. Okay. So those are things that you need to consider. You need to consider entry-level salaries in sales can be a lot lower. However, there are bonuses that are built into it. So yes, your actual salary itself may be low, but your sales commission could be very high. When you look at average salaries, again, sales has that big factor in there with the commissions, that you could make a ton of money off of commissions, but your actual salary might be lower. So that's why when you see sales, sometimes you'll see sales salaries are a little lower. And that does not mean that it's because, you're not going to make that much. No, you have a potential to make that much, but your actual salary might only be $30,000 a year, and you make the rest in commissions, which is not counted into the salaries. So those are things that you have to definitely take into consideration when looking at all of these. So, all right. So any questions so far?
I have a question. What in general is considered a good ASVAB score? What the heck happened?
Hello. Okay. I think, yeah, my speaker was muted too, actually. So I apologize about that. So
No problem. What in general is considered a good ASVAB score?
that's hard. I can't answer that one, because when you're looking at the ASVAB, there's different, the military looks at certain scores. So when you're looking at like a military, getting into the military, the Army looks for 31, Air Force looks for 36, Navy looks for 35, Marine Corps looks for 32, Coast Guard looks for 50. So it depends on what you're trying to base it off of. There's different careers within the military. Like if you're looking strictly at like military, you have to have like a certain score to get into, military police, and you have to be certain score. Maybe you want to go into like nuclear engineering or something with the Navy. You need to have a certain score on the ASVAB. So it is hard to answer that question, because when you say what's a good score, I don't think anyone could actually answer that specifically, because there's so many different varying factors with that. But if you're looking at it strictly for like what score do you need to pass the graduation requirement for the state of Indiana, you need to have a 31. If you want to get into the Marine Corps, you have to have a 32. So for your AFQT specifically. So hopefully that helps out. What else? What other kind of questions? Come on, there's 14 people on this call. I'm sure someone's got to. All right, so here we go. So the higher the AFQT score, the better. Again, that's not exactly how it works. It depends on what exactly, like I know, Matt, you had talked about maybe going into the military. The best thing to do would be, if you're looking at military, is to contact your recruiter to see what type of career in the military you're looking to get, and try to get that type of score on the AFQT. So, you know, saying the higher the better, I don't like saying yes. I don't like saying no to that question, because it's not how it's intended to be. It's not an exact score. Like the answer is only A, the answer is only B, the answer is only C. That's not how the ASVAB was meant to be, meant to be taken. So that's why you get percentile scores. That's why you get standard scores, the AFQT scores. There's not like an actual percentage score. It's a percentile based off of everyone that you're taking the tests against. And then when they factor in the AFQT, there's multiple things that go into the AFQT score to get that. So it's a combination of the percentiles. It's a combination of the standard scores all together to make up the AFQT. But when you're looking at it from a graduation requirement for the state of Indiana, you have to have at least a 31 to be able to pass that graduation requirement. And then for those of you that maybe had taken the I-STEP and didn't get the minimum scores on those, again, we had you take the ASVAB, so that way we can make sure that you are passing one of the two testing requirements. Once you pass the ASVAB with a 31 or higher, you no longer would be required to take the I-STEP. What else? What other kind of questions? Okay, so I want to go over a couple more things about the career exploration. Good question. Do the recruiters come to the school? In a normal year, yes. This year, obviously, was very tough because we were limited on the amount of individuals we were allowed to have on campus at any given time. So in a way to kind of combat that, we, and this was something that was put into place before us new counselors came in, to kind of help with the COVID protocols. We were allowing very little to no visitors on campus. So that meant that all of our recruiters were virtual. All of our college recruiters, whether they were military or college, they were all virtual. So they were only doing virtual visits. The hope is that next year we will have those recruiters on campus in person, starting up, as early as end of August, beginning of September. So that is definitely the hope, is to get them. I know that usually with the military recruiters, with the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, whatever it is, Air Force, they tend to come more often than the college recruiters. So they'll have individuals that will be probably coming in more than about like once a month, probably, if not more. That's just kind of standard for all military. I know when I was a college recruiter, I would see, an Army or a Marine Corps recruiter every time I was doing any type of visit. And, I just get to talk to them, and they would say, yeah, we do this like once a month, once every other week, depending on the size of the school. Like a school like a Lake Central or a Crown Point, they're there once a week, if not once every other week, just because they have, 5,000 kids in their school, 4,000 kids in their school. So a school, you know, with our size, they'd probably be here maybe once a month, once every other month, something like that. So, but that would be something that, yes, they will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be back in person starting next year. Good question. And they did come to this school for the ASVAB. We do have to have, whenever we give the ASVAB, we do have to have a military recruiter as a one of the test administrators, so the test proctors. What other kind of questions? Ms. Quiros and Ms. Kabasa, have you had any questions specifically from students about ASVAB?
No, not anything that I can think of that you didn't cover today.
Okay.
I would agree with that as well. I haven't had everything that you covered was fantastic. And yeah, I haven't had any additional questions.
Okay. So I do want to go over one more part then. I think we're at a good spot here. We have some time still, so that's good. So the other thing that I kind of want to mention with this ASVAB Career Exploration Program, or the ASVABprogram.com dashboard, not only can you see your ASVAB results, and that's why you have that, you have this access code right here. This access code specifically is to your scores. But you also have an opportunity to be able to plan, whether it's educational or career stuff or activities. So you go to your portfolio and you're able to help use your experiences and work experience, test scores, you know, everything, and put it all here in this little portfolio. So when you hit Let's Get Started, you can come up with your future plan. You know, what is your plan? Maybe you want to go into career school or technical school, but you're also thinking maybe college. Add in your work experience, you add in your education, your ASVAB scores. You can also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yep, you can add SAT or ACT in there as well. Any achievements, skills, volunteer activities, all kinds of different areas. And this just kind of helps you keep everything together all in one place. So this, and the reason, you know, I would want students to use this is an additional tool off of the other things that we do offer our students here at Bishop Noll. So this is just another area where you can kind of keep everything all in one place. And it's a great thing. You can actually, you know, download the PDF once you fill out everything as well too. Again, going back to step one, if you do the FYI, there's, you know, it says 90 questions, but you can see it does not take long to do that. It would probably take, you know, about 7 seconds to fill out these 4 questions. And then you just go ahead and just kind of go in and go through all the questions, and it gets you something specific to your interests. Going back here. So here is a little bit more about your education and career plans. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of fill out and kind of keep yourself accountable for different things. Coursework planner, we're not going to go over that one actually. Classroom activities, just some other opportunities to be able to help you with your future. One thing is, I know this is something when I was working career services, is an elevator pitch. And the elevator pitch basically is, imagine you are getting onto an elevator with someone and they asked you real quickly about your work experience. Imagine you had to go to the 12th floor. Your elevator pitch is the information based off of that about you that you could tell someone from the time it takes from the time you get onto an elevator to the time it gets off. That's called an elevator pitch. It's a very quick, brief overview of your skills, achievements, and what you could bring to the table, but in a very, very, very short amount of time. Like I said, I used the 12th floor because if you're in an actual building, you know, 12 floors is probably a good thing. Because if you're going on, like, let's say like the Sears Tower or something in downtown Chicago, that's a little unrealistic to say, oh, well, here's all my career stuff from the first floor all the way up to the 103rd floor. Not every building is 103, 104, 105 stories high. So 12 stories or 12 floors is what I always base it off of. That gives you about 30, 35 seconds tops. So, and then, like I said, there's all kinds of different activities you can go in and actually work on. So the other area that I do want to talk about, since we do have juniors on this call, is I need to, whoop, there you go, is I want to go over Naviance very quickly. So Naviance is another opportunity for our juniors, our seniors that are on the call. This is the way that we work with the colleges directly. So if you are a incoming senior or you're a current senior, like if you're a junior right now, going to be a senior next year, this is what you're going to utilize for applying to colleges. Well, after you apply to colleges, you're able to actually link up your Common App account. So if you're using Common App to apply to colleges, you would actually use you can link it up with Naviance, and then as soon as you apply to a college through Common App, it'll automatically give me a notification telling me that you have applied, and that I need to send the transcript. So this is the best way to actually be able to send your transcripts, because when you apply to a college, you need to have your transcript sent over. For me to do that, to send it over directly to the school, I need you to put it into Naviance. So you will hear me talk about that a lot. I'm sure the seniors are very annoyed by me saying Naviance, Naviance, Naviance. But this is the way that we communicate with those colleges. It's very easy. You can see this pink button with the plus sign. All you have to do is hit that. Which college are you applying to? You would just either type it into the list. Let's say Purdue University main campus. The application type, I am doing early action November 1st. I'll submit my application directly to the institution or via Common App. We'll just say directly to the institution. And currently I have submitted my applications. So instead of hitting application, you want to hit add and request. So this is going to add the application to Naviance, and it's also going to request the transcript. There's one more step that you have to do. What type of transcript are you requesting? I am requesting your initial one because this is the first time you're applying. What additional materials, if any, do you want included? You can include the SAT scores if you'd like. And as far as this question, you don't have to do anything for that. You can just hit request and finish. And then what happens is that is now on my colleges. So if I go to colleges I'm applying to, let me go back to home and go to colleges I'm applying to. It would have down here a list of the applications that I have sent. Since this is a demo environment, it doesn't have that on there. So there is right here where it says request transcripts. The only issue for this with hitting this request transcripts is it doesn't allow you to pick the school. So the best way to do it is to hit this pink button here. Going to manage transcripts, this is after you submit the transcript request. But this pink button is the best way, because then you can just start typing in, I'm applying at University of Pittsburgh. So I'm going to look for the University of Pittsburgh. Okay, University of Pittsburgh campus, which is the main campus. Rolling, I'm going to apply directly to the institution, submitted my application, initial, and request and finish. Boom, done. It's that easy. It takes 5 seconds. Anytime you submit a transcript or an application, go ahead and do that. You will need to match your Common App account if you're applying through the Common App. This green bar here will be pink if you are not, if your account is not matched. So The other thing on Naviance is we have our self-discovery, which are different assessments that you can actually take very quickly to kind of find out more about yourself, just like the ASVAB as well. So in a nutshell, that is everything. Let me go back to, oops, I closed the control panel and now I'm locked out. Oops. All right, give me one sec because I am like locked out of my screen here. One sec.